think tank and policy advocacy group to go much further than you have done before. Bring your ideas. Bring your leadership. Be highly inquisitive. And bring your capital.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu urging the private sector to come on board and partner with the government to transform the Nigerian economy. Quite apt, as it is in tandem with the agenda of the 29th Nigerian Economic Summit. On this episode of Focus On, we'll look at key discussions from the summit, which highlights the role of a public-private sector partnership for inclusive growth. I'm Akin Obakeye. It's the 29th edition of the Nigerian Economic Summit. Key stakeholders in the public and private sectors, captains of industry, civil society, and partners gathered to discuss pathways to achieve sustainable economic transformation and inclusion in Nigeria. The summit, put together by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, and other partners, kicks off with a sense of purpose from the Nigerian president.
Economy is possible. By year 2026. And a $3 trillion economy is also possible within this decade. We can do it with double-digit inclusive and sustainable competitive growth. This is our agenda. I would like to charge you, the captains of industry here present, to commit yourself and redouble your effort to our vision of a renewed hope. More prosperous Nigeria, a better Nigeria for all. For us to successfully deliver our promise to Nigerians, we recognize that it is imperative that we foster a high collaborative relationship with the private sector. We must work together. We have the proven capacity in this regard. As we remember the role of public-private partnership and the transformation of Lagos State under my leadership, we will replicate that across Nigeria with our unwavering support.
The president lays the agenda with a charge. This is quickly followed up with panel sessions addressing granular issues hindering the country's growth.
The market is illiquid. It's not functioning properly because there is not enough supply of foreign exchange, and there are various reasons for that. The solution that Mr. President has put on the table is, number one, he has signed an executive order that effectively legally allows, under forbearance, all the cash that is in the domestic economy to legally come into the formal money supply. People will be able to take the cash that they have and put it inside the system. Along with that, there's another executive order that allows the domestic issuance of foreign currency instruments so that they will have an incentive to provide that foreign exchange from whatever source into income-bearing instruments.
There are more difficult decisions to be made, no question about it. But the two very difficult decisions, painful, they've been taken, and now it is a question of managing things till we get to where we really want to get to. And that where we really want to get to is a place where we have a foreign exchange market that is fit for purpose. A foreign exchange market that works for everybody. A foreign exchange market where you know the rules. A foreign exchange market where there are no policy flip-flops. A foreign exchange market where you can predict. If we're going to be able to create an ecosystem that will outsurvive us all and we will go to sleep on, we've got to do some basic things, some of which we are already attempting to do, although it's early days, but we're doing them.
For the wider economy, we are committed to a plan. We are committed to a budget based on plan so that everyone can be clear and be certain about what the policies are. We are going to generate, either put more money in the budget or generate more investment in the 8 priority areas of the government so that we can say with certainty that security will improve, agriculture and food security will be enhanced, inclusivity will be achieved by providing access to capital, generating economic growth, and supporting rule of law. There is a line of sight. We are very clear and we are confident that with the commitment we are seeing from the private sector and the renewed energy around the government, we are confident to chart that course.
As a show of commitment, key private sector players and stakeholders share a sense of commitment to the government's readiness to unlock the country's growth prospects.
Trust is critical and trust is important. And trust is really the currency that nationhood is built upon, right? And so we are encouraged by decisions that have been taken by this administration. When we hosted the 3 presidential candidates at the Summit House in Lagos before the election, there were certain conversations that we had, and there were certain promises that were made. And for me, the hallmark of leadership is really walking your talk. Yeah? And so we're quite happy that a number of the questions we had way back in March are being implemented by the president, which was what I referred to that. We thank him for keeping faith with the NESG. And so that for us is the process of building trust.
For me, what's most important, again, is that you have a new administration that is coming. It's a good opportunity that is already there, trying to get their feet under the table. But it's a good opportunity for the NESG to set the agenda for the administration. Yes, the administration had ideas, but NESG has been in existence for 29 years. They've seen things evolve in Nigeria, and it was a good platform for them to now say, look, yes, you have your strategy, but we being in the private sector, these are some of the things that we have seen you have to incorporate if you have to move this economy forward, if you have to move Nigeria forward.
The actions we have seen taken by this government demonstrates a government that is committed to reforms. It demonstrates a government that is bold, that is firm, that knows where it wants to go to. I have confidence that whatever short-term hardships we are facing now, when those reforms begin to kick in, when the right things are being done, hopefully, as the president has assured us, in a year's time, we'll sing a different tune. But one thing that is clear is that we have a man who is firm, who knows where he wants to go, and he's not afraid, not shy to take hard, if in the interim, seemingly unpopular decisions.
We have risen to the occasion whenever a president has thrown us these kinds of challenge. President Abacha threw us a challenge in 1994 to build a new vision for Nigeria. The private sector stepped up and we supported the creation of the Vision 2010 agenda. President Abdul Salam threw us a challenge in 1997 to create an economic action reform framework. We rose to the occasion and we worked with that transition government to deliver a reform action plan. President Obasanjo challenged us in 1999 to develop a long-term national economic empowerment development strategy for country needs. And we rose to the occasion, mobilized private sector from all the different sectors of the economy to build that needs document, which later, at a summit, we showed case studies of Mint and BRICS nations. This was Summit 2001, and said Nigeria could be top 20 economies by 2020, and that's by 2025, actually. But it was President Obasanjo that then said, no, we can do it by 2020, and that's what created the Vision 2020 document that then became the flagship long-term agenda as the case may be. So we've basically responded to the challenge of government every time government has asked. If you remember, when we were in recession in 2016, and we, at a summit like this, presented a scenario, not exactly like this one we presented today, but a similar one. And we said that it has to be a path out of recession into recovery. The government challenged us to help with the creation of a development plan. That's what created the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the country with our partners in the Ministry of Budget and National Planning. So I think now that there's a clear challenge from the government to private sector leadership, we will mobilize private sector leadership now to respond. He's asked for our hands, our heads, our minds, our capital, and our commitment, and I think he'll get it.
We all share that there's a burning platform that's required for change to really reinvigorate this economy. The speech by His Excellency the President was pretty much all that you would hope for from the leader of the country, and I think sets the right tone for the private sector to be really the catalyst and engine of the economic growth and poverty reduction in this country. Now, the group speeches have been made. The question is, by the time we come here in 12 months' time, will there be the proof of the eating of the pudding? That's what we now need to go and sort out over the next 12 months.
To drive this country forward, particularly economically, that public sector, private sector partnership needs to work well. I think this has always been the platform for the discussion. This year's conversations have been much more interesting, largely because you've also had a change in government, which has meant this is the first real interaction with this new government, and the first interaction that shows the direction this government wants to go in using this platform adequately. And I think what we've seen are absolutely great green shoots of potential recovery for the Nigerian economy in the nature of the partnership that is to come.
The event also saw the launch of the Ernest Shonekan Center for Legislative Reforms and Economic Development. The center aims to promote reforms to critical sectors of the economy and better link the nation's legislature and the private sector to define pathways for economic growth, among others. The summit highlights the crucial role reforms play in unlocking the much-needed economic growth. To achieve a $1 trillion economy in the short to medium term, Nigeria will require a paradigm shift, bold actions, tough choices, and significant sacrifices. Well, that's all we can take on this episode of Focus On. I'm Akin Obakeye. Until next time, thank you for watching.